What's up, YouTube? And we're just going to get started. We have friend of the program who's been here many a time, Jordan Herrera. And there's been a lot going on. He's running for Congress in Missouri, where there has been gerrymandering up to all hell. There has been a fight against it. I want this news. I want the scoop. So we got the man himself right here, right now. Jordan, thank you so much for joining me, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me back for another interview and to discuss kind of what's going on with redistricting and gerrymandering here in Missouri and the state of our race. Yeah, so redistricting, I think that's a great place to start. So my campaign team and I have spent the last several months working with the organization People Not Politicians, who are really the champions of redistrict, like fighting against redistricting here in the state of Missouri. Now with this organization, it's a group of civilians. These folks are passionate about our government, and they believe firmly that if we redistrict, that should be left to the people of Missouri, not politicians in DC. So for me personally, I take great humility and also pride in knowing that I helped them achieve their goal. Now, their goal was to at least get, I believe, roughly around 117 or so thousand signatures. Instead, what they submitted to the state just this past week was 305,983 signatures, I believe, something like nearly 2.5 times what was necessary. So even if they do try and cut out some of those signatures, there should be an adequate supply. That what this action does is it forces it onto the ballot for the state of Missouri to now vote on next November. But that also means that our current maps are in the historic map, meaning we're under the old 5th, under the old 4th, until this is voted on in November. And now I should say, little wrinkle in here, all of this is dependent on whether or not the Secretary of State of Missouri, who has this option as his office has it, if he raises his own litigation at the state level, petitioning to suspend these signatures. And if he is successful in that capacity, we're on the new map and everything changes. So still more to come with this, more legal battles, myself included, my own legal fight and what that looks like. Right now, we are taking the small wins we get from the federal courts. So over in the Eastern District of Missouri, it was thrown out of federal court that when the Missouri Attorney General, Catherine Hanaway, brought suit to dispose of nearly 90,000 signatures, it was determined in the federal court that she does not have standing, nor does she have the right to really bring this type of case. Her office is not given this authority or power. It would be more appropriate for the Secretary of State. So that is a small victory for us. That case was thrown out of the federal courts, and now it's been pushed over to the state. Another wrinkle there, though, is we're now left to the Missouri state courts and Missouri Supreme Court. So what direction or political lean that might have, it has yet to be seen. Yeah. Okay.
So let's go through for the audience. You may not know exactly what's going on, right? And this redistricting thing, some people may know that all across America, ever since Texas decided to genuflect to their dear leader to redistrict their spot, then California said, well, you know what, we're going to put it on the ballot. And people voted to have redistricting in California. All of this is supposed to be done every 10 years when there's a census. It is not that time. So there's no reason for this. There's no reason for this other than to be political, which in my opinion is simply undemocratic and illegal. I don't think that our Constitution allows for it, but fine, I guess it does. So what Missouri did in response to also genuflect to the dear leader was vote. What was the vote to redistrict? And when they voted for it, what was the numbers?
As far as the number count, I don't know the specific number, but it fell directly along party lines, which here in the state of Missouri, we have a Republican supermajority. So even if every Democrat were present, there's still not enough to defeat that sort of legislation.
And that gets to the point of it's already gerrymandered. It's already gerrymandered to all hell. I mean, it's unbelievable that Missouri has a supermajority of Republicans when the amount of, you're talking about St. Louis, Kansas City, the amount of big cities that I know, if you're looking, no matter where you are in America, the big cities are always blue. You have an amazing number of even the suburbs of these cities, right, are also blue if they were just those cities or those counties. So it's already been cracked up beyond belief. And I want to point out that the only reason why a supermajority already gerrymandered state would think about doing even more is because they know they're lost. They're losing. They don't have a chance. They know they're a failure as a government. They're failures as representatives. And the only way they can get anything done after the failure of the last year of a dictatorship is to just cut the people out altogether. Talk about that in the way that I know you can, sir.
Yeah, so let's break it down into some clear-cut examples of what Missouri legislature has done. And this last session is a perfect example. So across the state of Missouri, we voted overwhelmingly for paid sick leave and paid overtime. That was guaranteed. We voted for it. It passed. We also voted for women's reproductive access or abortion rights.
Wow.
That it should be guaranteed to each woman. And that passed in the state of Missouri, meaning Republicans had to vote for this too, right? So that passed. In this last Republican supermajority legislature, and I should say, it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, any supermajority is bad for government. But in our state, it's a Republican supermajority. And in this state, they overturned the will of the voter on both of these items.
Oh, man.
So now back on the ballot is whether or not we're going to safeguard women's reproductive access again. And also going back to the ballot will be another fight for paid sick leave and paid overtime, having to redo the same thing. And I should also state this. Missouri is one of the very few states that has direct democracy available for its citizens, meaning we as citizens, if we gather enough petition signatures, we can put a new law on the books ourselves. We don't need our legislature. The same is also true if we want to take a law off of the books. Missouri citizens can, if they collectively get together with strong enough signatures, can shoot down a law, remove a law, overturn a law. And we've done that a number of times. For example, right to work law, which is a union busting measure, passed in the state of Missouri. But through our citizens referendum, we defeated it. Expansion of Medicare was also canceled. It did not go anywhere in the state of Missouri. The citizens referendum ensured that it passed, and now we have Medicare expansion, which, by the way, thank goodness we did do that, because it's those states that voted for or somehow got their Medicare expansion, that they're in a better position today for their citizens, because when these healthcare credits expire, they're going to hit the states that did not expand Medicare even harder than states like Missouri, where we live. So it's about to be painful, especially if you're a working class person. Now, here in the state of Missouri, when it comes to this bullying of law, this bullying of legislation of, I'm not going to do work with you. There's no reason for me to compromise with you. It's our way or get out. That's the Republican way.
Yeah.
And the way I've been talking with people is like this, and I like to use the most recent SNAP crisis as an example, among Democrats, there's maybe 100 people who need to be fed, and possibly one of them might not deserve it, but the other 99 do. Well, Democrats make sure that everyone gets fed, even if there's one that shouldn't receive it, because we're still feeding 99.
Yes.
The Republican Party, opposite. If there is one person who doesn't deserve it, throw them all out.
Because you don't want it anyway.
Right. They want to cancel it for everybody. So even if there is one person who may be taking advantage of supplemental nutrition assistance, which, by the way, is only a few $100s, like $200 more a month to provide for groceries, you're going to tell me that somebody's going to risk, that federal fraud lawsuit that follows, Social Security and SNAP fraud. You're going to tell me that
want it anyway.
People who are impoverished are really going to run that risk? I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying it's the minority.
Right.
When there's 99 other people to feed, I'm not worried about one person taking advantage.
Well,
go ahead, sir.
Just on that point, this is supposed to be the ideals of America, right? The reason why we have in law innocent until proven guilty and not the other way around is because if one murderer gets off, or if 10 murderers get off, but you put one innocent man in jail for the rest of his life, we say that it's more important to save the innocent man's life than to have vengeance for the 10 murderers. That's how our law works. And am I wrong about that? You're the one that knows the law way better than me. That's the ideal, right?
It feels that way, yeah.
It's supposed to feel that way. That's the idea. So to help the people who are innocent, the people who need it, it has to matter more than getting vengeance for the people who get off. Right? Sure, look for them. Sure, they deserve the punishment when you find them. And it doesn't mean it doesn't mean anybody can do whatever they want. I hear you. But to say that you'd rather hurt the innocent, the people who need it, hurt the citizens that have done everything they can, paid into these things with their taxes so that you can catch the one, is I don't think that most Americans would have gone for that unless they had been brainwashed by the right for the past 30, 40 years now into this way of thinking that me, and everyone else is a welfare queen. I'm gonna let you can continue because I'm sure you have a bunch of examples, and I want to hear them all, and then we'll get into some more of this stuff.
Well, I think to put a nice little bow on that thought and the conversation we were just having, why do Republicans keep doing these sort of extraneous actions that are feeling less and less American and more like hungry or a different a different socialist organization that's not really socialist, more autocratic, more fascist. I think right now Republicans firmly understand that their policies are not favorable. Their way of doing business is not favorable. Their trickle-down economics only meant that the tax burden trickled down. That's the only thing that came down. The burden of it, right? They know that their policies are failing. My opponent, Mark Alford, he voted to bust apart unions. He voted to protect the Epstein files. Wow. I can't believe there are hundreds of pedophile protectors in office right now. I'm not saying it, it's limited to one party, by the way. I'm simply calling it out for what it is. You deserve to be investigated if an allegation of child abuse has been brought forward against you. I don't care if you're the president or Speaker of the House or even my own friend. You deserve to be investigated.
Yes.
And we have so many Republicans right now who voted to protect pedophiles. That's crazy to me. And so they know their policies are failing, right? So how do they hold on to the power? Well, they use bully politics, and I'm going to bring up a two-word term, and it's constitutional coup. What a constitutional coup looks like is you slowly take over each segment of government or each branch of government, seemingly through lawful means, maybe elections, maybe just getting the office appointed to you. Over time, though, you push out your political rivals. You ensure that your political party, your political voice is the only voice that's heard in each respective corner of government. Although it looks legal the way the adoption took over, it is still a constitutional coup because it is not in line with freedom of speech. It negates all of what we stand for as as a constitutional democracy here in the United States. So they know that their policies are flawed. They know that they're bad. The only way they can hold on to power is rigging elections, breaking the rules, slandering people for their, histories on, their family issues, or, the really sleazy tactics to get elected. I see it from Republicans almost every cycle.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Democrats are clean hands here. I'm just meaning to say there's one party that will make sure you don't get fed. There's another party that's fighting to make sure that you're fed and you have access to that food. You have healthcare and it's affordable. You have housing and you can afford it. And you have an education resource that's accessible, affordable, and thorough. That's the party I believe in.
This channel started as a way to get at the media. Political drain is literally named that way because I used to say this thing in the beginning. We sift through the sewage that comes from a corporate media owned by oligarchs that are trying to use you, throw disinformation at you for their own personal profit. So I would get on all sides. But I want to make something very clear. When you say because you have to, that the idea of protecting the pedophiles and voting for it, not to say it's not on both sides, wrong. No. I have a list of 1,600 people who have been accused, charged, or admitted to, and credibly accused, charged, or admitted to, arrested for, maybe got off, of people in high places, churches, senators, governors, police chiefs that are pedophiles. Not support them or not vote against them. And they're all Republican. 1,600. Many of them are in office and have been voted back in after their arrest. After their arrest. I'm no longer taking that both sides. I appreciate that what you're saying, but I'm going to tell you out there, people, no, it's not. No, it's not. Period. There is one party that is protecting and filled with people who are sexually deviant. And they'll tell you that being gay is deviant or being trans is deviant when that's how you're born. Deviance is approaching, attacking, and using and abusing and trafficking young children and women and men without their consent. The Republican Party is full of them. I have the list. I'm going to put it in the comment section so you can click on it in PDF and get the pictures as well. So I just want to make that clear. I apologize.
No, and I appreciate that. I think the reason why I like to make sure that folks know that the mirror of scrutiny that I hold, it goes both ways. And everybody is available to be scrutinized. I want to remind folks, when I started this race, I'm running against a Republican now. But when I started this race, I was challenging an incumbent Democrat who's been in office for over 20 years. Do I firmly believe he should be replaced? Absolutely. But now is not the time to be challenging a Democrat in office. Instead, we should be supporting Democrats who are already in office and supporting Democrats who are running for office in new districts. Talk about that.
Where are you running now? If this comes, are you going back to the old district? Have you? What's your move now that I know it's not finished yet? So if the petitions go through and we go back to the old districts, are you planning on going back to your old district you were running in, or a different one?
That is a great question. And the answer is absolutely not. So I started out in the fifth, right? I firmly believe that I am running for the right reasons, whether it's in the fifth or the fourth. The reason why I was standing up was because of the same things that are happening in the fourth. I'm standing up for veterans who've lost their care at the VA and they've been pushed off into the civilian market space. I am one of those. I'm standing up for Americans who are not talking about the housing affordability crisis in a theory like Mark Alford might, and even well-off Democrats. They're talking about it in a theory state. I'm living in it, right? I'm not talking about education, student debt for higher education in a theory sense. I just graduated law school. I saw the totals. Now I'm grateful that I have the GI Bill and that I'm, as a disabled American veteran, I do have forgiveness programs that have not been shut off. So I'm very, very grateful and very, very fortunate. But here's the thing that makes it a little bit different and why I'm still running. Just because Jordan got access to a program that saved him hundreds of thousands in debt doesn't mean I stop. That means I need to find a way to get other people alleviated from student loan debt. My work has only just begun, right? And what I was just telling some folks, because I've been asked this question, I initially was running in the fifth here in Kansas City. I live in downtown Kansas City right now. But I did live in the fourth, which is where Lee's Summit, Missouri is at. And I worked in the fourth, which is where Whiteman Air Force Base is at in Johnson County, Missouri. And what I had said to the folks over in Johnson County and here and in Cass County and Bates, it doesn't matter where you're at. We have a lot of unifying issues. Whether you're in rural America or in the urban core, housing is still unaffordable. Whether you're in rural America or in the urban core, healthcare is still sometimes inaccessible. If you're in the rural environments like how I grew up, if I needed a specialist, like a level 1 trauma facility, it was 3.5 hours away in Denver. So you made dang sure you did not get hurt, because that could be the one injury that bankrupts the family, right? That's the same thing that's happening in rural America and urban cores today, where there's a hospital desert or a healthcare desert. The same is also true for food deserts and grocery stores. I'm sorry, not just grocery stores, but mom and pop stores that used to keep Main Street occupied and full. Well, in part, it was full over there because we had 40 and 50 farmers living around small towns. Well, because of consolidation and monopolization in the market, that shrunk down to anywhere from 40 to 50 farms down to 5 or even less, 5 farms. What that means is all of that economic resource, everything else was taken away out of those main streets. So again, it doesn't matter if you're in urban core America or rural America, it's harder for you to shop without having to go online to one of the billionaires we were actually just talking about, right? So those are our unifying issues. It doesn't matter the zip code you're in, that matters. However, running in the fourth, I'm going to stay in the fourth because what I don't want to cause is any greater level of voter confusion. I've made a commitment that in the fifth, I am talking about Emmanuel Cleaver. I am promoting his candidacy. I am hoping that he takes Congress again for his, it'll be his 11th session. 12 sessions for a total of 24 years in office. Hopefully, we'll see a change in power after that when it's a little safer. However, with Mark Alford, I think this is the time to really punch back at Republicans and run everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's a rural district or an urban core district, run everywhere. Whether it's student school board, the school board, or whether it's the mayor's race, comptroller, auditor. I mean, all of these seats are currently in the state of Missouri. A lot of them are occupied by Republicans because we've lived by one falsity for so long, which is Missouri's a red state, always been a red state, it always will be a red state. That's a lie.
Yeah.
And if we just go back 20 years, you'll see that Missouri was bright blue. were only read today because of these constitutional coup measures that have been, planned and worked on for decades. And you can see it through the courts where the Republican Party has just installed their judges all the way through. And now we as Democrats, we're trying to make up on the ground game, and it's going to take us some time. But I think we're capable and able to do it. But the short answer of why folks should trust me. I'm a disabled veteran who put my life on the line for my country for 16 years. I've shown service before self, and I have a record of exemplary service and exemplary airmen underneath me that I've trained and mentored to show for it. And when I was done with my uniform, when I could no longer serve, and I hung that up, my oath didn't expire. I instead pushed myself into law school and immediately started working as a public servant with my law degree, right? It doesn't matter if I'm in the 5th or the 4th. My heart is in public service. My heart is in making my community better.
I'm wearing my Santa Claus hat because we got to bring that present back to Missouri of that blue state. The constitutional coup that you talk about, it makes it sound like there's something constitutional about it. These judges have been going against both the spirit and the letter of the law when necessary in order to get their way. What you said about the petitions before, you got universal, what is it, pre-K or child care? Well, the Medicare expansion, the right to work law. So what was the other one? There were two that you got that they overturned. So that was the two. Okay. I don't know why I thought that. So you got Medicare expansion, the right to work, and they overturned the will of the people. But you also said something very, very interesting there. In order to get those votes in, that means even Republicans had to vote for it. What I'm trying to tell you, YouTube, and you don't even have to respond, but I like one if you want to, is you ask yourself, why would they vote against this when even Republicans have voted for it? It's because they want the power. They get off on the power. It's not about Republican or Democrat. They're rich. And my camera went off here because you need to hear this. They're rich and they're powerful. It makes even things that don't, the abortion laws. There's nothing in that besides the fact that they want to take kids and make them work in the mines and in the fields, so they need more kids. But there's nothing inherently for the rich about that. But it's about powerful men saying, you can't do this because I say so. And it doesn't matter. So if you're a Republican out there and you're waking up, as many of you are, and I've been used to slapping you down, I'm opening the door instead, because they hate you. They hate you. They hate the fact that you're a woman, that you're black. They hate the fact that you're poor when you're white. And they hate the fact that you feel entitled to this country. Because we all are. We're here, and it's the beauty of America. They hate that. They think they should own it and own you. You can have a response to that, but I want you to understand that's why they vote against even their own people, is because to them, they have the right to tell you, to own you, to direct you, to what would you call it? Dictate to you, not to represent you.
No, I completely agree. And, it's sad. It's sad to see the erosion of what little trust there was in government. There's certainly none left today, I don't think. Yep. And furthermore, there's no accountability in government right now. And I hope that's what we're going to see in 2026 at the midterms, that accountability will be brought back in. I am motivated and inspired to see so many young Democrats standing up and running. And I would just caution folks about, one other thing, because the pendulum swings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we swing too far left, we should expect an adequate swing to the right. So for me, I just don't believe in playing to the fringes of our political spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
I think right now what we need is stability, strong leadership, somebody who can actually take the helm and guide us through this storm. Because I don't believe that we should just be voting in young people because they're standing up and voting. You need to come with the right resume, have a plan, have a strategy. And I think when folks look at my campaign, that's what they're going to see, is that I've applied that 16 years of military experience with a forecast and a strategy how to achieve it. And I also don't parrot the same talking points as other Democrats. For me, I think that's also a fatal flaw. I don't need to hear the same thing from your mouth that I can hear from 50 other Democrats. What I need to hear is what you actually believe in and why. I'm unafraid of running against a Republican, even in the state of Missouri. And it's because, if you take those moments of challenge in your life and you turn them into your best friend, you turn them into your greatest strength, well, then it's unstoppable. You're unstoppable. And that's what I've been able to do, is take every vulnerability I have and talk about it publicly. So it can't be used as ammunition to fault me.
I love it.
And quite frankly, if a Republican wants to shoot me down for living a real life, go right the hell ahead.
That's who's going to win. I said this, I was speaking to a candidate named Bree Woodson from Georgia. You guys check her out if you're there. She is there you go. So, that's why you're here, brother. Progressives, courage, the people on the removal coalitions, these people in these circles are who we're going to get elected. And the reason why is because she is a real one. She's been through some things. She's had addiction issues, mental health stuff going on, and has turned it into a career of helping people with addiction and mental health issues. There is one good thing, what I said to her, that Trump did was open the eyes to people of how much fakery and straight up bullshit that there was in the halls of our the honorable so and so, right? None of them have been that honorable. Most of them have not been that honorable. Most of them have been coddled. Most of them have got their degree because they had a name or a rich so and so and so and so. And the people who had real lives, the people who were actual real people, could never get in because you had to be so polished and you had to say these right words. And Trump opened it up. Trump opened it up to say, no, you don't. No, you don't. You can be real and win. So there's going to be the real candidates that are going to win. It's going to be those who come out there and say, no, I'm not the polished makeup CNN guy that's going to tell you about, well, Jim, no, I've had a real life. Some shit went down, but I care. And that's what the people are looking for. That's why they were disaffected with politics before, because there was something intangible, there was something they couldn't touch, couldn't talk about, couldn't vocalize, but they saw it. This isn't right.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I'm going to put in a brief plug. What a Courage Candidate is, we've been endorsed by citizensimpeachment.org. They're a group of citizens from around the country who essentially advocate for the one tool we have to remove those crooked politicians from office today, like a secretary, cabinet member, a justice in the Supreme Court, even our own president. That one tool is impeachment. Mm-hmm. And while it's true that there is no direct democracy initiative or anything of the sort that citizens can institute an impeachment proceeding. What we can do is encourage our congressional leaders to do so. So in part, citizens impeachment, what they do is apply pressure to those who are currently in office to support articles of impeachment. There have been two recently, one by Representative Tannendier to impeach Pete Hegseth, and the other from, I believe, Representative Stevens, and she had put in to impeach RFK Jr.
And then Al Green put in to impeach the president.
Representative Al Green is known famously for using that tool. And unfortunately, our Democratic friends are not supporting it. And I don't fully understand why. To me, it seems like those who are currently in office are still afraid to use the tools necessary to correct this ship. With citizens impeachment, they are helping to advocate that message, spread it, get it out there far and wide, and supporting candidates like myself to feel empowered enough to advocate with our voices, with our full chest. It's definitely difficult to do. But again, like, it's our one tool to use. We don't have to settle for a Pete Hegseth. We don't have to settle for an RFK Jr. We can do better.
Here it is. This is what has been exposed. The question is, you answered it with being a part of courage, but I want people to hear you say it. Will you fight like you do now when you get in then? Because what we've found is the willingness to keep a seat or to shake a hand or whatever it is that Hakeem Jeffries is doing. I'm going to cut. Right? I'm trying. It's not working. That I don't want to sign this petition is no longer acceptable. I will not put the question on you if you don't want to answer it about getting him out of that leadership position. But I will ask you, are you willing to change leadership positions when you see them not doing their job? We want to know that you're not just going to get along or play along to get along when you get in there.
What I would call myself is two different things. First, I'm a new American. The second, I'm a constitutional modernist. So what's a new American, first of all? A new American is somebody like myself, and this is what I believe, my own doctrine. What I call a new American is someone who believes in getting the work done. It's not adhering to party platform. It's not adhering to who's in power. It's instead making sure that you're advocating for the constituents and that you're actually putting, as a fiduciary, their financial needs, their food and economic needs come before your own. That's what it means to be a new American. It separates us from party and focuses on the work to be done. I don't care about your party. Most people today don't fully agree with either one, right? It tells me more about what you believe in doing in office, right? So for me, I believe in getting to work. And how do you make that work happen? You've got to be bipartisan. So for every Democrat who is radicalized and they're vying for an office, I have to wonder, are you trying to sow more seeds of division, or are you trying to bring this country back to a united, unified place where we can get back to work and be actually economically sustainable and growing? That's what I care most about. Two, a constitutional modernist. What is that? Well, for me, our Constitution has nothing to say about digital privacy rights. It has nothing to say about privacy rights at all, actually. There's only been a few cases where privacy has been found, like privacy over a marriage, to marry who you would choose, of your choice. Privacy over, well, pretty much that's about it. There's not very many spaces for privacy. And so what I'm saying today is there should be a right to privacy over your digital rights, your digital online footprint, especially if it's the currency maker today, meaning your data is what makes people wealthy, right?
Yeah, it's connected to liberty.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And even, when it comes to what is Jordan Herrera going to do while in office? Okay, great point. And here's where the strategy and the planning comes into play. I can hear 50 Democrats go out there and talk about the housing affordability crisis, and they're all going to be saying the same things. We're in a deficit of housing. Housing is too expensive. Mortgages are going up, but wages aren't. Rent is going up, but wages aren't. You can hear that all day long. Well, what the hell are you actually going to do about it? And if you go to my website, you'll see that I clearly state we need a national emergency called over the housing industry so the government can drop the price of goods to build down to a reasonable amount. Let's spur a building boom to increase the supply on the market. Right now, we're short 4 to 7 million homes. Let's go with this plan. And oh, by the way, let's secure it with a long-term grant and an expansion. Right now, if you want to build low-income housing, it's through a program called LIHTC, or low-income housing tax credits. It allows builders to build low-income housing at lower costs, so it's profitable for them. I would be calling for a similar program, but a middle-income housing tax credit focused on building right-sized single-family housing for people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how do we get over the not in my backyard movement and realize that rezoning, like zoning laws in general, need to be changed. Even though I'm advocating for single family homes, let's also be honest, density is what's going to keep our urban systems alive. So right now, Kansas City is a perfect example. We have too many streets, too many water pipes, too many sewers for the city to upkeep. And it's because of urban sprawl. We're huge. We take up anywhere from like 30 to 40 square miles. It's big, really big. New York is not that big. Los Angeles is nowhere near that size.
This is why I know that whole idea of a Republican supermajority it's just beyond the pale. Like, from what I know about just the geographics of that place, it's impossible. It's impossible. Anyway, go ahead.
But you're never going to hear a Republican talking about how do we re-densify the urban core so that way we can actually afford police, we can actually afford public schools. That's what we need to be talking about. How do we fix our cities so people can actually feel safe enough to live there? And that's getting at the roots of crime, at the roots of poverty. That's how we fix it. But also rural renewal. There are ways to do this also in our rural environments. You want cheap space to open a business, go to any small town with a downtown Main Street. Most people operate on an online storefront anyway.
Yep.
But if you need a brick and mortar, find a suburb. They're so much cheaper. And that's why there have been, all of this exodus from the urban core out to the suburbs. But when I'm talking about rural renewal, it's also cheaper to build out in the rural communities and fix up those houses that are antiquated and put new housing there. What that will hopefully draw is families out into those environments. But here in Missouri, and I'm sure it's this way across the country in our rural environments, jobs are scarce. So how do we fix that? I think, digitally modernizing our workforce across America is a part of that solution.
We have a whole lot to talk about, and I wish I could have 2 hours with you. We've done that before. I think we went like an hour and a half, hour and 45 last time.
Yeah.
This time, this is an emergency response, people. Santa Claus wanted to bring you something today. And before we leave, give me the what we call it, the blunt report, the bottom line, the bluff report, the bottom line up front. Missouri, redistricting, your campaign, what's going on. Just a reiteration, I want people to know what's happening there and what is being done and what's coming next.
I appreciate the opportunity. So bottom line up front, when it comes to Missouri and gerrymandering, right now, People Not Politicians has submitted 305,000 signatures to the Secretary of State showing that Missouri has an interest in overturning this legislation, which would create new maps for us. What that means is it will be on the ballot in November. So everybody needs to make sure that they are educated on how to vote, where to vote, and if you don't know, you need to register to vote right now and learn it for yourself. In fact, even if you're not in Missouri, register to vote right now, check your registration, and even if you're good, you've just done the one part about being a Democrat, making sure you're good. You need to do the next part, which is check your buddies. Make sure your buddies are doing well, that they're registered to vote, and that they know how to vote, when to vote, and where to vote. So redistricting is going to a ballot measure this November. With my campaign, I have now moved into Missouri's 4th congressional district. I was redrawn into that district as a product of gerrymandering or attempted gerrymandering. I will stay in the 4th. I am committed to representing the 4th district of Missouri. I will not be going back to the 5th.
If this is with or without the... Okay.
The focus here is we need to eliminate voter confusion, and we need to support strong, capable, and agile Democrats in every congressional district.
Yep.
Right now, Emmanuel Cleaver is our current congressman for Missouri's 5th congressional district. He has a strong hold on the seat, and I will do everything I can to make sure he gets reelected. However, in the 4th, I'm counting on every Missourian, whether you're in office or not, whether you've not voted since, Ike Skelton represented this district some 20 years ago, or whether the last governor you voted for was Jay Nixon and you haven't been back as a Democrat. I'm here to tell you Missouri is closer to blue than you think. It just takes committed, courageous Democrats like myself who don't take no for an answer and instead show up in your farms. We show up in your police stations. I show up in your hospitals, and I get to the root of the problems. I talk about the people who are directly impacted by those problems because I want to make sure that we don't re-traumatize people. And I'll leave it with this. If you believe in a congressional leader like myself who has adopted a doctrine that I developed called trauma-informed legislation, meaning I'm not here to hurt people ever again. In fact, I think it's the goal of government to consistently protect more, not less. And to do that, trauma-informed legislation is the answer. By taking a backward historical look at where our laws have come from and who we've hurt in the process. For example, DADT was meant to protect LGBT people in the military from ever being forced to answer the question, are you gay? Instead, it was used as a tool to discharge LGBT Americans for over a decade. Those were unintended harms that were brought about by that piece of legislation. Trauma-informed legislation as a doctrine looks at those examples and makes sure we don't repeat those harms in different capacities, whether it's advocating for single moms and vulnerable women, if it's advocating for labor and working folks. I'm not here to harm Americans. I'm here to build us up, to fix what needs to be fixed, and to get this ship in the right direction. I talk a lot about waking up the neighbors. It's my call to action, and it comes from a story of my parents growing up. And the core message of waking up the neighbors is sometimes you can't do it by yourself. I can't fix this congressional district alone. I have to go out and knock on every single door. I have to call every single phone number. I have to email every single email address I can find that will give me $1, that will give me a moment of their time to share with me what they are experiencing on the daily so I can be a better leader. That's what all of this is for. And if we're always going to vote the way that we've always voted, but we're expecting a different result, then we're nothing but a bunch of crazies. And I know we're not. We're a better country than that. Last thing I would say also, because I am running in a Republican district, Democrats cannot be afraid to go where we are least expected. I went out to Butler, Missouri, a city of less than 4,000 people. I met with anywhere from like 40 to 45 Democrats that night. And I still made, on my campaign team side, we made close to $1,000 that night in a city of 4,000 people. You want to tell me that they don't care?
Yeah.
That money is more precious to them out there where economic resources are more scarce, and they're still willing to show up and show out in that small town. And oh, by the way, 40, 45 people in that room that night, those are just the brave ones who decided to show up that night. That tells me there's 10 times as many. We just got to find them. We've just got to be brave enough. And when we go out there and we talk about what we believe in, I'm reaching over for this right here. This is our Democrat creed. This is what I believe in. I know this is nonpartisan, but just to make it clear, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, please look up the Democrat creed. But we believe America is a democracy by and for the people, ruled by the Constitution and its interpretations, protected by the Bill of Rights, and inspired by the Declaration of Independence. We believe that the duty of government is to strive endlessly to make the ideals of freedom, justice, and opportunity a reality for everyone. And we believe that fighting for these ideals is our purpose as a political party. In here, you're not going to see anything about Citizens United. You're not going to see anything about corporations. You're not going to see anything that, because that's not what we are.
Mm-hmm.
Has our party become that in some respects? Maybe. I'm not a part of that, though. I'm a part of this. Freedom, justice, and opportunity for everyone.
Last word. I love it. That's exactly where we want to end it. That's exactly why you're here. I appreciate that. And yes, this channel is nonpartisan. To be clear, YouTube, we're not nonpartisan until the Nazis are gone. Until the Nazis are gone, I know all of my old followers, and you know I still give Democrats hell. I'm going to ask you the tough questions when you came on before. This was an announcement for something else, but you know that. But no, we are not nonpartisan anymore until the Nazis are gone. There is no space on political drain for Nazi ball tickling and coddling here. Understood. And they'll cut that out so that your opponents don't use that against you.
I tell folks all the time, you don't get to choose what your veteran looks like. You know,
Right.
This is an example of people come up to me all the time. I'm very healthy, well-bodied, well-able. And they say, thank you for your service. And I remind them, go and tell that to the veteran on the street who's sleeping out there tonight, who's covered in sick and is addicted. Mm-hmm. They need to hear about your support, not me. I know you do. Yeah. They don't. You know, and you don't get to choose your veteran. So if we curse, if we have foul language, if we don't use the most appropriate terms, you don't get to choose your veteran. You're there for us or you're not.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for showing up. We'll do this again sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Happy to be back anytime.
All right. There you have it. Have a good one, my friend. Hey, yeah, you. Before you click away to watch someone unbox a tactical toothbrush, let's talk about something real. Political Drain isn't just another content mill. We're a digital front in a very real war. Not with bullets, but with ideas, with action, and with solidarity. We pair urgent news with critical education. And we build community around actual resistance, not the hashtag kind. The kind that moves. But here's the thing. None of this is free. It isn't. Behind every video is time, labor, research, and some weird guy asking if we're going to pay the hosting bill. And yeah, some of that money goes to things we can't necessarily say out loud. If you know, you know. Let's just say our special ops aren't Call of Duty LARPers. They're people making real moves to protect, uplift, and organize. You're not just funding a channel. You're funding a resistance network in a world where capital still calls the shots. Unfortunately, in a system built on artificial scarcity, even mutual aid has a price tag. And if we want to grow, if we want to win, we need your help. We need your help. So if you've got even a few bucks to spare, toss it our way. It's not for ads. It's not for merch drops, but for people making moves in the shadows so others can do it in the light. It's just us and you. So fund the mission, fund the fight, fund the future, because nobody's coming to save us. We save each other. That's how this works. Follow us on all these things you see here, and our link tree is in the description. Maybe even get some merch.